So you have decided to be a true Giga Chad and go against the simple plug-and-play DOT playstyle most Black Swan fans will naturally gravitate into. The black hole that is the Kafka DOT composition you have broken free from, pulling out of its strong, nearly irresistible waifu orbit. Or you don't have Kafka. For some reason pulled Black Swan, and without any other DOT units built, wondering where to plug in your new favorite bunch of pixels to look at. Rest assured, the Swan lady who happens to be black can also be the support who happens to do damage. I will begin my lecture on how this femme-bent gambit is a lot more versatile than you may initially think. First, how do you build your new favorite dommy mommy? Well, this for the most part does not change from the typical Black Swan build. You will be still building the Prisoner in Deep Confinement set. Pan-Cosmic Commercial Enterprise is the two-piece set I recommend, but I don't recommend farming for it directly. It's a very inefficient world to farm. Instead, use some relic remains and convert them into the rope and the orb. This is how I got my set. You want to hit 120 effect hit rate with as much speed and attack percent as you can get while trying to get enough HP and defense percent that your purple lady doesn't get blown away. Try to get 135 plus speed with as close to 3k attack as possible. HP you want close to 3k with around 1000 defense. Ideally, you want 155 plus speed, but this is easier said than done, depending on what light cone you are using and what your substats roll. You can play this crazy bird lady in a skill point positive playstyle. So the more time she goes, the more stonks your SP situation is likely to be. Potentially. If your cone that is rectangular does not have effect hit rate on it, you will likely want an effect hit rate body. Planar orb, wind damage orb, or attack percent orb are pretty comparable to each other, damage wise, so choose whichever you think rolled better. The difference between the two is so small, it could be mistaken for enough to start the next Genshin content creator drama war. Rope you most likely want attack percent still, but there is an argument for using energy rope for Black Swan's ult to boost damage enemies take on their turn. So you gotta fit it up with a good build. Now what? Well, let's get into it. Our Swan Mama starts her path into the support role with her skill. At level 10, 20.8% defense shred blast. Being able to shred defense on 3 targets on a skill is a great start to her acting as a support for our team. This leads to our team doing more damage overall. Now what's something we can do to give this more value? Glad you asked, truly. Let's look at her light cone banner. Notice something? Okay, stop staring at her sexy light cone and look at the 4-star light cones. Seriously. You will notice the resolution light cone is also on this banner. At S5, this gives our build another 16% defense shred, as well as being considered another debuff called Entanglement. This brings her defense shred on skill to 36.8% and brings you and her enemies closer to being on their knees.
Yes! 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 Yes!
Oh, those
yes!
are the new ones?
Yes! 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 Yeah!
Not only this, but the ult also will shred defense for the entire field for 16% now. I will say this light cone isn't optimal for her own damage, but we are here to support, not to be the star of the show, even if she is all you want to look at. Okay, that's good and all, but you might be thinking, we just made a glorified Pela out of her, and you would be correct so far. Also, you'd be correct if you realize that I've been faking that accent this entire video. Next, we will talk about her ultimate and how to use it for more damage. When you first read her ultimate, you will read that the 25% more damage debuff it applies to enemies is so restrictive, it's only good for DOT teams. While it's true DOT teams use it the easiest, it's not all it can be used for. For instance, if you cast your ultimate on an enemy's turn and hit the enemy, you will be able to take advantage of the debuff as well. You may be thinking this is all well and good, but I'm still not sold yet. Well, let's dive deeper into your dreams.
What? What the fuck?
And strip away any doubts you may be having. You can use Google to strip away the closed loop.
Nice.
Penacony isn't just the place where your new favorite waifus are showing up at. It's also the place where your dreams are coming true and friends are murdered.
Sorry.
Pioneer Diver of Dead Waters set is here, and it adds some unexpected versatility to using Swan as your support. Let's read the effects together. 2-piece. Increases damage dealt to enemies with debuff by 12%. With Swan on the team, this is pretty much 100% of the time. When enemies appear, they will be affected with Arcana, which satisfies this requirement. Never forget that DOTs count as debuffs on enemies. Now, the 4-piece effect says it increases crit rate by 4%. No requirement to receive this. That's a free 4% crit rate for just having the set on. Let's continue. The wearer deals 8% to 12% increased crit damage to enemies with at least 2 to 3 debuffs. Basically, if you got 2 debuffs, you get 8% more crit damage. If you got 3, you get 12% more crit damage. This already is solid and easy to maintain due to Swan's skill applying 2 debuffs. Then you throw on a cone like Resolution, and you can maintain 3 debuffs consistently with only her. But that's not all. After the wearer inflicts a debuff on enemy targets, the aforementioned effects increase by 100%, lasting for 1 turn. So if you use someone who applies a debuff themselves in some way, like Dr. Ratio, that 12% crit damage bonus becomes 24%. If they don't, you still easily can keep that 12% up for them. This makes this set pretty versatile as long as you are willing to run a debuffer in the squad. Maybe all this has been enough to sell you your new mistress, so let me sell you another one.
Good news, guys. I spent all my money.
Yes, I'm talking about Eidolons now. So get out your wallet and prepare to dump in your life savings or pray to RNGesus like I do. May I be forgiven for my gacha addiction. Don't worry too much. Really, the only Eidolon that matters for us, support Swan freaks, is E1. Let's read it together. While Black Swan is active in battle, enemies afflicted with Wind Shear, Bleed, Burn, or Shock will have their corresponding wind, physical, fire, and lightning resistance respectfully reduced by 25%. It's respectively, but I like saying respectfully. Now, this Eidolon is strong, but it opens up far more than you might realize. First of all, we have to talk about how it interacts with her ult. Her ultimate has one very important line. Now, let's have an epiphany together. So Epiphany lasts for 2 turns, but it also says enemies affected by Epiphany have Arcana treated as if it is Burn, Bleed, Shocked, and Wind Sheared. Let me say this another way. While under Epiphany, the enemies all have negative 25% physical, fire, lightning, and wind resistance.
Hey, that's pretty good.
So the only damage not amplified by her would be Quantum, Imaginary, and Ice. You likely will be able to ult every 4 turns, so she can keep this up about 50% of the time on her own on average. That's nice, but how can we make it closer to 100% of the time without going tutorial with ER rope or something equally as silly. Well, have some patience. It's all you need after all.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Now, it's unlikely you have this cone because you are watching a guide on how to use Black Swan without the original Dami Mami. However, to make this guide complete, we can't ignore this potential. Kafka's light cone not only can bring us more speed and damage, but it comes with its own nifty DOT called Erode. Now, Erode counts as a shock DOT. You can now recover from your shock state and pay a visit to the Garden of Recollection for the memory of Swan's E1.
I'm done.
Nope!
So not only can your Swan now apply 2 DOTs on her own, compete in the Indy 500, and do some respectful damage, respectfully, but this also provides 100% uptime on being able to keep enemies' lightning resistance lowered by 25%. Keep an eye on all future light cones for even more potential synergies with Black Swan. But we are not done with the light cone synergies. Just going to look outside what she may or may not have on.
Yes! Yes! I win!
Now, if you were to run Swan with a preservation unit, there is a 4-star light cone you need to keep an eye on. Trend of the Universal Market. This light cone says it has a 100% base chance to apply a burn when the unit equipped with this light cone is attacked. This not only has your preservation unit be able to provide damage in the form of a DOT, but also due to the E1 shred 25% fire resistance. It also brings another dot to make Swan's Arcana better. This also means in the future if we receive a sustain who provides a DOT in the form of bleed, shocked, or burn, it will help keep the corresponding element and have the element resistance shred debuffed the entire fight for whatever enemies it's applied to. So with all this said, is there anything else to add? Yep. You can also bring DOT units as a support in a way now. For instance, Gwynaifin, she can buff damage herself and bring burn DOT. So if your main DPS in the party is a fire DPS, she now helps keep the fire resistance shred going the entire fight while also helping your Swan by bringing another DOT. Black Swan's E1 truly just kicks down the doors for many possibilities. I hope I was able to provide some value to you guys today. Kafka with Black Swan is very powerful, but I hope this helps show the value she brings outside of that team and DOT teams. Honkai Star Rail is starting to release characters that can be fun to think outside the meta box and make your own without feeling bad for doing so. If you made it this far, tell me your favorite use of Black Swan in the game.
I shouldn't have said that. I should not have said that.
I don't need to know what you're doing with her outside of the game. Like the video and subscribe to let me know you want more of this content. I'm now off to play some Persona 3 because I have basically already completed Penacony. I think I got 15 stickers left before everything is done, and I question my sanity. As always, best of luck on your gacha pulls, and may the waifus always come first. I mean, home with you.
You sure about that? You sure about that?
See you, Trailblazers, in the next video.